building bridges, not gates, making emerging tech practical and accessible. Before I go any further, I want to make sure you guys can hear me okay? Volume? Good? See? Yep. Okay, perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Again, I might be clearing my throat a little bit, so apologies. I have the Coachella cough, a lot of dust in these lungs, a lot of dust. Okay, so you guys are here. So I'm not trying to flex. I see you. Te veo. Okay, so a lot of you guys might be, there's a spectrum of people in here, right? So you might be deep into tech. Some of you might be tech adjacent, or you might be getting started. You might be students. So wherever you are in that spectrum, you're in the right place at the right time. So question in the chat, por favor. What do you guys consider to be emerging tech? No wrong answers. Maybe you are an emerging tech. You know exactly what I'm going to say. But what do you consider to be emerging tech? Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. Let's see what you guys come up with. AI for sure. For sure. Anything that isn't widely adopted yet. Yeah, that could be too. AI for days, for sure, for sure. Anything else? AI powered UGC agents. Blockchain. Correct. So let's get into see what emerging tech is today. It's technology still developing, but already reshaping industries, economies, societies. As of today, we're talking about blockchain, Web3, crypto, DeFi, SocialFi, AI, of course. A lot of us are probably using that already, but also spatial web, AR, augmented reality, VR, virtual reality, and XR, extended reality. We're talking about tech that changes the game, like revolutionary type stuff. We see what AI is doing, but it's more than just AI. But I think the real question, and I think the theme of why we're all here together is how does it impact our communities, right? So emerging tech is changing how money moves, how data is owned, how communities organize, and who gets to build wealth from it. But let's break it down even more. Think about how each of these impacts our community in different ways. How money moves? Right now, sending money internationally, mad fees, takes days, require bank accounts, or huge fees at both ends via like Western Union or something like that, right? Millions of our people globally are unbanked, and emerging tech is changing that. Remittances to families back home, payments across borders, access to financial tools that traditional banks never offered us. How data is owned. Every time you use an app, you guys know this, you guys are in tech, your data is being collected and sold, and those companies are making mad money. And you don't see a dime. But emerging tech is building systems where you own your data and you decide what happens with that data. How communities organize. We love to organize because we also have to, right? Because there's a lot of things that we're fighting. So it changes how communities organize. It helps them with new infrastructure on how to do it. Funding projects without banks, making collective decisions without gatekeeping, building networks and, belonging to them and in them. And then the wealth. Who gets to build the wealth? Who gets to keep it? That's a big one. So every single one of these shifts the wealth question. Right now, people who are making these decisions don't look like us. And that's why we're here today. So a little bit about why I see what I see. My name is Marisa Estrada Rivera, aka Ritzy P. I'm first generation Mexicana, emerging tech strategist, founder of Ritzy Perry Consultancy. And for the past 15 years, I've been in multiple industries, music industry, art industry, but then the last 5 years really focus on emerging tech. I presented twice at the United Nations General Assembly Science Summit on the importance of inclusion in this space. Twice delegate and presenter at the congressional briefings of Women of Color in Blockchain in Washington, D.C. I'm also co-author of Women in Web3 Inclusive Futures. I contribute to the report by Crypto Council for Innovation and WK Kellogg Foundation entitled Building a More Equitable Web3. I co-host the Get Down Beyond Bitcoin podcast. And what we cover is market trends, policy, and how it impacts Black, Latina, and Indigenous communities, because nobody's covering that. You know what I'm saying? I'm also founder of Real Talk AI. It's a 3-week virtual workshop where I'll get into it a little bit later. And I'm also building Zocalo. But as soon as I entered the space, and probably like the reason why I entered the space 5 years ago was because I wanted to become a diversity and emerging tech advocate, because I saw the potential of how this can impact our communities. And I was like, I need all of us to be up in here. So that's why I do the work that I do, for sure. Also, a mom, I homeschool. So that's also important too. And it also dictates what I do. So the stats, we're probably familiar with the stats, but let me just run them by one more time. Latinos make up 19% of the US population. We're almost 1 in 5 Americans, but in tech, we're about less than 6% of the workforce. Talk about Latinas, maybe 1%. We're the second largest ethnic group in this country and nearly invisible in the industry that's deciding everyone's future as the world is becoming more tech centric. So now imagine those numbers, but look at emerging tech, right? It's a space that that's even newer, that's even less accessible, and it's more concentrated in the hands of people who already had an amazing head start. And so those numbers are even lower. But AI, as you guys mentioned, what you felt was emerging tech, already in the workplace. Blockchain, already out there impacting so many different things like supply chains. Spatial web is already in your phone. We're doing it. I'm putting eyebrows cuando no tengo eyebrows. Do you know what I mean? It's already there. But the question on this slide, it's not if, but it's when. And you are sitting in a room right now where the answer to will you be ready is yes, can be yes, all of those things. So last year, I was on a nationally syndicated radio show talking about how our people need to be in this space. And at the end, they're like, "So where should our people go to?" And I was like, I was like, I don't have one safe, vetted space for people to go to. So last year, my word of the year was build. So I decided, I was like, maybe I should, that's the calling for me, the signs, symbols, and clues for me to build this. So at the Q4 of last year, I was part of Diana. It's a platform for women tech founders. And I did problem validation interviews. And I had an interview, I wanted to see if the problem was big enough for me to invest my time and energy and money into building this. So I interviewed a bunch of people, strangers. And the one that stood out the most, in Zocalo, is a platform that I'm building that makes emerging tech education community driven, safe, practical, and accessible. So I'm interviewing all these people. The one that stood out was PhD software engineer. She told me, I was like, the questions were, I knew mostly everyone used AI. So I was like, why AI and not this? And she was like, it's not for me. A PhD, software engineer. She felt locked out. She felt left out. Besides AI, blockchain, crypto, all that other stuff, she was like, that's not for me. That's for crypto bros. That's a scam. And she couldn't see how it helped her personally. And she didn't see a practical way in. That's when I was like, oh, that's not a knowledge gap. That's not a confidence gap, because she has a PhD in this space. That's a design problem. That's the ecosystem that was deliberately built to make it so that, even qualified people don't even feel seen in the space, don't even feel like they're a part of this. So what does that mean for our communities, and how do we enter the space? That's what this session is about. So in the chat, por favor, what has made emerging tech feel out of reach? Maybe you relate, maybe you don't. Maybe you're like, "No, I'm in tech, I'm good. I can totally do that." But maybe not. So what has made you feel that it's not for you? Is it time? Is it jargon? Is it trust? Is it access? It's the tech culture and messaging. Yeah, right? The pace of new products. Oh, it's moving fast as hell. We say in emerging tech, especially Web3, a month in Web3 is like 6 months, but like a month in AI, that's maybe what, a year, 2 years? Like it moves so much. Yes, the corporate jargon, like Do we need to know NFTs, like digital collectibles, right? The learning curve and the culture in general doesn't. Feels like, okay, got it, got it, got it. Yeah. Yeah, you think all those things, financial investment to learn, like the yes, exactly. And that's what I saw across the board, whether it was people in the space, people not in the space. Like I wanted to let people know that this is important, like we need to be here. So let's go to the next one. You guys are already closer than you think. It's a short bridge, especially for those in this room. Especially for those in this room. Let's break it down by what I think there's the spectrum of people that are here today. Developers and engineer. If you're a developer, you're so needed in the space right now in emerging tech. Building systems, writing code, understanding infrastructure. Those are exact skills emerging tech's desperate for. Your bridge is the shortest. If you're that in this room, shortest bridge. If you're tech adjacent, emerging tech doesn't need you to start all over. What it needs you to do is just take your skills, what you already know, and point it in a new direction. That's it. Skills are transferable. It's still about ship, ship, ship. You guys know that. So it's still that. Take that and go over there. Students, for the students in this space, you have the biggest advantage in the room right now because you could build fluency before your career even starts. There are people that'll be hiring in 4 to 5 years. They want people that understand the space. So you can get in now while the cost of learning is still low. Entrepreneurs, for the entrepreneurs in the space, this isn't about getting a job, right? It's about building something that generates wealth in a completely different way that's the traditional path could never, could never. So those are some of the options. So let's talk about real world use cases. The examples I'm about to show you, they're not something that I had Claude look up or that I looked up myself. They're actual things that I know of well because I know the people. I've talked to the folks. We built together. There's 2 women that I stood next to on the UN stage. We built together. We go to conferences together. We cry about being in the space, being women in the space. We talk on the regular. And then one of the things I'm going to show you, we had multiple meetings with because we were thinking about doing an emerging tech event in La Ciudad de Mexico. And then another one is a global organization that I know a lot of you guys have heard of. And then I saw them at a conference. So I made sure to corner their innovation manager to continue the conversation. Okay, so let's start off with mi Wildy. Wildy Martinez. She's Afro-Latina, Dominicana, que lo que. She's a fashion designer, illustrator, who found her way into emerging tech, not through a CS degree, but through her art. She started creating NFTs, let's just call them digital collectibles, that celebrate mainstream fashion, what mainstream fashion could never do, right? And she, with her work, she says, your skin, your body, your uniqueness is not a flaw, it's the art. She has vitiligo, so she makes sure if you look at the art, beautiful artwork that's there, it's representation, of all skin colors, of vitiligo. I mean, she's influenced Mid-Journey so that you can put in vitiligo now and it shows up. Like that's the impact. She's also an Adobe Firefly ambassador. And back in 2024, we worked together with the students in the design department at the University of Medellin, Colombia. We got a Colombiana in here from Medellin. And we put on an IRL, in real life, AI and augmented reality fashion show where, the students, they could never have seen themselves before at the intersection of tech and creative, being creative. And now they got an opportunity to build it themselves. And they got to see how AI and spatial web was used as a tool to enhance the experience. And that's what it looks like when emerging tech isn't built as a gate. It's a bridge. Next up, we got Deborah Betsabe Carizo. That's my girl. She's in Argentina. She's co-founder and CEO of RealBlocks. It's a blockchain platform out of Buenos Aires, Argentina, that lets everyday people invest in real-world assets through tokenization, basically fractional ownership. She did it with real estate at the beginning, and then she tokenized yerba mate, a yerba mate farm, right? She, something that lives in every kitchen in almost every Argentinian home. She turned that into an asset her community could actually own. something that's super important to them and their culture. It was equivalent to about maybe $20 US USD for a token, and it was about 16% estimated annual return. It sold out in less than 24 hours. And so the problem that she was solving is generational wealth in Latin America has always been locked in assets that require enormous capital. Deb used the blockchain to break that. You don't need to buy the whole farm. You can own a stake in a harvest of that farm. She built it in Argentina. She got it regulated and did it for her community first. They dismantled barriers that hindered inclusion and ownership, especially in an unstable economy that she talks about all the time. So she made sure to build that bridge. UNICEF. How many of us here have heard of UNICEF? If you don't know them, they are the largest vaccine distributors to children globally. And not a tech company, they're not a startup, but one of the most trusted humanitarian organizations in the world. And they're all in on emerging tech. And a lot of people that were in emerging tech had no idea. But when I do these presentations, they're like, I've been in the space longer than you, and I didn't know that. Because I look for this stuff. Because when, I look, I do a beeline and make sure when I go to conferences that I go to, oh, emerging tech, social good, social impact, I'm there. Emerging tech and community impact, I'm there. So they give about 100 to 400K in non-dilutive funding. So that means they don't take any equity to startups that are using emerging tech to help them solve some global problems. And they do it in Bitcoin or ETH. Now, why crypto? Three reasons. Transparency, every transaction lives on a public ledger. Anyone can track where the money goes. Also safety. Requires a permanent verifiable and it's no one can alter it, right? Speed. Bitcoin and ETH can transfer to whoever needs it in minutes compared to traditional banks. Maybe if you're lucky, 2 to 7 business days. Business days if you're lucky. But they're using the blockchain to track vaccines in remote areas. So this is real work, and the communities that need it most are exactly who they're building it for. So they make sure that the right vaccine at the right temperature gets to the right child in a village that traditional systems, can't reliably reach. So next time someone tells you emergency tech isn't for regular people, you tell them UNICEF disagrees. Finally, there's Alcatierra in the Ciudad de Mexico. In the Chinapas of Xochimilco, we met to try to make an event there. But what I learned was amazing. I hope we could still do one in the future. So where they're located, is ancient floating gardens built by Aztecs. They're considered the lungs of the Ciudad de Mexico. And they're some of the most sophisticated agricultural systems ever created, thousands of years old, still feeding people today. So Arca Tierra is doing regenerative agriculture on the land, farming the way ancestors farmed. And they're using blockchain for traceability and distribution. So that's every step of the food's journey from chinampa to your table is transparent and verifiable on an immutable ledger, the blockchain. So let's think about what that means, though, right? Like two worlds coming together. It's indigenous agricultural knowledge that survived colonization, folks, combined with one of the most cutting edge technologies on the planet right now, in service of what? Sustainability and food sovereignty. Another type of unique use case. So this isn't a white paper of, something happening that everyone and their mother's doing. This is what's happening right now in the Ciudad de Mexico, on land that has been farmed for thousands of years by people who decided that emerging tech was a tool for their mission. It helped them with their mission. So that's a bridge that they built. So there's so many projects. I could go on for days of people that I'm having conversations with, people that I'm building with. But beyond AI agents and vibe coding, did you guys know about these types of projects in emerging tech? I'm going to say, before I even see it in the chat, no. Why? Because mass media doesn't cover this, and that's by design. So let me give you what mass media won't: a blueprint for how to get in, stay in, and build something while you're there. Three moves. Three moves. We talked about the gap. We talked about who's already building. Now let's talk about you. I'm gonna give you 3 simple moves. You don't have to do them all today, but they will help you get you started. Things to consider, write them down, and then put on your calendar, like, "I'm gonna start doing these things." Move 1, learn it on purpose. You don't have to get a certification. I'm just telling you, you need to be intentional. We need to be intentional with what we're doing. Pick an area of emerging tech that touches your current work or life, just one. Say, like, if you're in product, look at how AI is changing what gets built. If you're in engineering, look at what decentralized infrastructure means for the systems you already built. If you're an entrepreneur, look at what tokenization makes possible for your customers. Then give it 30 days. Join a newsletter, one more, do 5. Do a community, join a community. Start using a tool and don't just read about it, use it. You learn by doing, like we learn in action. And so the goal isn't to become an expert, it's just fluency. It's just fluency, kids. Enough to have a conversation and to ask the right questions and stop feeling like this world was built for someone else. Because let me keep it 100. It was built for someone else, but that doesn't mean you have to wait for an invitation to walk in. Remember that. Oh, this is supposed to be mood 2. Okay, mood 2. Yes. Make yourself visible. Make yourself visible. 9 to 5 workers that are out there. Tell your manager you're tracking the space. Volunteer to lead an emerging tech conversation at your next meeting. Propose a pilot. Be the person who opens the door because that person gets remembered and that person gets promoted. If you're an entrepreneur, post one take on LinkedIn about what you're learning, what you're building, your perspective as someone in this community and what you're building is exactly what these spaces are missing, and people will notice. If you're a student, start your digital footprint now. Ahorita, while you're still in school, post what you're learning, show up in communities. By the time you graduate, you'll have a track record in emerging tech that most people twice your age don't have, and that's your edge. For everyone in this space, visibility creates opportunity. That's always been true. So because it's even more true for us because we're so underrepresented in these rooms. So when we show up with expertise and a point of view, we don't just advance ourselves, we make it easier for the next person, for other people in our community to walk through that door. Okay, I did number these right. I thought I messed up, but I did not. Move 3, build towards ownership. So, excuse me, there's a difference between being good at your job in tech and building actual wealth through tech. Traditional employment, even great employment, means you're building someone else's table. Emerging tech can like change that equation for you. So let's think of it, we break it down into the different tracks of types of people that might be in the room. 9 to 5 workers, negotiate equity, not just salary for your next move. Understand what emerging tech means for your company's roadmap. And then position yourself as the person who bridges that gap. It's not just job security, you want leverage. For entrepreneurs, look at what my homegirl Deb in Argentina did. She didn't just build a product, she built a vehicle where her community can own assets they've never had access to. And ask yourself, what does tokenization, what does AI, what does decentralization make possible for the people who you're already building for your customers, your members, your community already? For the students here, contribute to an open source emerging tech project. Learn by participating in a hackathon. You can go to conferences in person and do a hackathon, but there's also virtual ones. The people that get in before something is mainstream, they're the ones that are shaping it, shaping what it becomes. They're the one that benefits the most when it does. So you have your time on your side, so use it. And so everyone in the community, our communities have always known how to work hard. Okay? We know this. That's what we are. It's in our blood. That's what we do. But we haven't always had access to the table where ownership gets decided. Emerging tech is one of the clearest opportunities that we have right now to change that. And don't just be good at it, get a stake in it. So, pa'lante. Pa'lante means forward, but not alone. Um, Thank you, Jolies, for that. You came in on one side of the bridge and now you leave knowing more of them exist. right? Especially with those use cases. And I hope those inspire you. And I hope the steps you get inspired to do some of those steps. And I want to see, put in the chat while I read some of these next steps. What is one thing you're taking away from today's session? We got 4 minutes, maybe less now. So, in community for community, today is only day one of this amazing summit that Jolice and Amber put together. Connect with one person at the summit working in or is also curious about emerging tech. Exchange info, follow up, building in community for community. Like that's the takeaway. Yes, fluency, not mastery. Yes, advocate for yourself, build your brand. Exact. Who's going to save us? Ourselves. Ourselves, right? Yes, I love that. In the midst of perceived chaos, there's plenty of opportunity out there. Yes, and if we go solo, we go certain distance, but if we go together, we go hella far. And that's what they've done such an amazing job with Techqueria. You guys are already breaking the mold of the space by being Latinos in the space. But let's get those numbers up in emerging tech. So I'd love to connect. I'm gonna put in the chat my link. It has Tiene Todo. It has my LinkedIn, my email, ways to work together, because I'm a consultant for companies that are in Web3 or thinking about going into emerging tech. I also do Real Talk AI. It's a 3-week workshop for our community so we can stay informed. It's not 4 to 6 ChatGPT prompts. It's week 1, what AI is, the history, how do we get here, how we are the data. Week 2 is ethics, copyright, environmental impact, the human impact, and what people are doing, how communities are coming together, what are global alternatives to the main big companies that are the ones that are here based in the United States. What does data sovereignty look like? What does a community action look like in this space? And then week 3, we go through safe and practical ways of using AI, and then you get a certification of completion and all that stuff. I'm also building Zocalo right now, where it's all about this. How do we make this space community driven, practical, and accessible? Because we need our people in here. I was 10, maybe. I was born in the 1900 kids. I was like maybe 10 when the internet came out, and that wasn't built for us and it wasn't built by us. But emerging tech is here. We have way more access than we know, because people are doing exactly that, trying to gatekeep. But let's keep building these bridges. Let's take care of each other, and let's disperse this information. So please reach out. There's a waiting list already for the next cohort of Real Talk AI, and building community together. And let's the 1900s is what I like to say. So yeah, muchísimas gracias for everyone being here. Let's connect. Again, be kind to everybody. Give the gracias to Jolice and Amber for putting this together and keeping us informed. So yeah, I got 1 minute left. That's it. Gracias. Let's put some more Jerry David on the way out. Ask any questions, but you know where to hit me up. RitzyPeriwinkle.com/links. Shoot me an email, whatever you want, and let's keep it together. Oh, and I'm wearing my I Am My Ancestors Vengeance t-shirt. Because we are, guys. We are. Hey, hey. See you in the next couple of days. Reach out.